explain a little bit about what tonight is. So if you are expecting tonight to be some kind of competition, you're going to be sorely disappointed. Tonight is not the competition. The competition happened on Saturday. Today is just a celebration of the excellent speakers that we had, the representatives of each class in our COM 1020. We had, well, usually we have in the range of like 25 to 28 different sections of that course. So there's a lot of students that are going through that are delivering speeches, and the students that came on Saturday and delivered their speeches were the best of their classes. And then from those, we picked the 5 that were the top speeches of the entire semester. So tonight, it's not about competition, it's about just celebrating how wonderful our students are. And this is one of our favorite things that we do in our department because we all, as instructors, we get to see how fantastic our students are. We see them present and work really hard and improve, and we feel like that we shouldn't be the only ones that get to see that. And so with this showcase, we get to show all of you who don't get to sit in these classes really how wonderful our students are. And so we're very appreciative of all the hard work that all of our speakers put in to making their speeches truly excellent. All right, we would like to recognize all of our speakers that came and presented on Selection Saturday. So if y'all could stand up. Up front here, our department chair, Dr. Ann Bialowas, has a certificate for them. So first we have Sydney Carpenter, Caleb Christensen, Tyler Edwards, Lauren Gorslin, Brody Kendrick, Britton Spencer, Madeline Warren, Courtney Weeks, Sean Whiting, Corinne Wilkinson, and Allie Woodbury. Let's give one more big round of applause for all of our participants on Selection Saturday. Okay, now we get to get into what we're really here for. We're going to start listening to our speakers. And we're going to start out tonight with Tyler Edwards. He's going to be delivering his speech titled, "Got Your Attention." His instructor was Natalie Hales this semester. Tyler was born in Clarksville, Tennessee, and he still calls Tennessee home. He is an organizational communication major, and he's a senior. He attended high school in Detroit, Michigan, and his professional goals are to get a Master's of Professional Communication, whoop whoop, here at Weber State, and then manage his own business. So I will turn the time over to Tyler.
May I have your attention on the screen? Because this is a goldfish. It has an attention span of only 9 seconds.
Now take a wild guess as to what human beings' attention spans have dropped down to. And that is your attention span. Now, according to research done by Microsoft, we used to be at 12 seconds back in 2000. That's my son. So over the past 20 years, we've gone from a thriving species to not even being equal to a fish. I'll tell you what that does equal: a problem. And one major cause to this problem is your phone. You're not losing your attention spans. It's being stolen by your phone. Sam Horn is the author of Got Your Attention, and he shares that the studies show that the human brain is just not capable of paying full attention to more than one task at a time. So if you think you can multitask, you're actually just dividing your attention. Now, raise your hand if your phone notifies you about something. Okay. Well, in order to check that notification, you got to look at your phone. Now, according to the science of addiction, it sends a chemical to your brain that looks like this. And this is a reward chemical called dopamine. And all of our brains are constantly searching for that next high reward chemical. So wait a second, what is the definition of addiction? Persistent urge to engage in a behavior that produces a reward despite the negative consequences. We are constantly conditioning our brains of craving that hit of dopamine every single time we look at our phones. So how often do we actually look at our phones? Well, according to Time magazine, we're up to 96 times a day. Break that down a little bit further, you're looking at your phone once every 15 minutes. On average, we are using our phones about 8 hours a day. But you're not addicted to your phone? Now, let me be honest. I am addicted to my phone. It is becoming effortless. I don't even need to be looking at my phone anymore. Hey Siri, where are you?
I'm over here.
What's the temperature outside?
It's currently 49 degrees.
I don't need you to listen to me, because the AI on my phone is already doing that. What I want you to consider is that the AI on most of your phones is always ready for your attention. Now, let's think about the next generation of kids. As a father of 2 boys, my sons are always watching what I'm doing. So if I'm always on my phone, then I'm teaching my kids that's okay. And that is a problem. So I wanted to share with you today some of the solutions that I've tried that have helped me address this problem. And of the 3 solutions that both me and my wife came up with together, I wanted to share them with you. Number 1, when the kids are at play, the phone is away. That goes for the dog as well. I'm sure most of you have heard this, but life moves pretty fast. Seriously, you can miss it. Number 2, happy wife, happy life, because I made a promise to my wife that when we have conversations, my eyes are up here and not down here. And finally, number 3, if it's not that important, it can wait, because interactions are what make memories, ones they'll never forget. So if you're still fighting the urge to be on your phone, then the only solution is that you're going to have to reduce the amount of time spent looking at your phone. Good news, there are ways to help you reduce. You can try reading a book. which is what we do to our kids every night before bed. You can try meditation, but if your boys have infinite amount of energy like mine, meditation did not work for me. Ironically, there are ways to help you reduce looking at your phone by looking at the apps on your phone. Screen Time app shows you how long you've been on your phone throughout the week, not to mention what apps you're looking at the most. So before I wrap this up, let's do a quick recap. That every time you look at your phone, you're getting a hit of dopamine, which you're becoming addicted to. So some of the solutions that I've tried is that I reduce the time on my phone in order to improve the quality time with my family. We really need to stop dividing our attention because life goes by in seconds. And if we can't improve from 8 seconds, then there's no way we're equal to a goldfish. Thanks for letting me say that.
Thanks, Tyler. Our next speaker is Lauren Gorsland. She was born in Dallas, Texas, and calls North Ogden, Utah home. Her major is radiology and nuclear science. She's a freshman this year and attended Weber High School. Her professional goals are to become a nuclear medicine technician with focus on cancer research. Her instructor this semester was Stephen Salmon. She'll be delivering a speech titled Redefining Success.
I was, and always will be, a very proud Eagle. It was the mascot of my elementary school, where I attended the entirety of my elementary school career. When I graduated, so to speak, something special that my school did for all of the 6th graders leaving was to allow them on a picture for the yearbook to hold a chalkboard with written what they wanted to be when they were older. Now, while other students wrote that they wanted to be an astronaut, a chef, a professional sports player, or a verified YouTuber, I wrote on my chalkboard that I wanted to be successful. Hi everyone, my name is Lauren Gorsland. I'm here to talk to you today about why we need to redefine success in our lives and prioritize it. Too often in today's world, we attach success with things of monetary value. We attach it with, we feel that we're going to be successful when we have gotten the next salary increase, the next pay raise, the next promotion, more wealth, more status, more fame, etc., instead of doing the things that really matter. This is confirmed by the Oxford Dictionary when I Googled define success, and this is what popped up. Now, the definition where it talks about accomplishment is wonderful. However, as you see in the example where it talks about industry, not as much. This is confirmed by the attached words where it also mentions fame, wealth, or social status. Forbes magazine states that 79% of people feel that they would be happier if they had more money. And 69% of people feel that their daily choices are influenced by whether or not they're going to make more money. Too often, we are pushing off our own happiness for this idea of success. We're pushing off our own happiness for this monetary and momentary idea of success that may never come. I'd like to share a story about my friend James. This is James. James is characterized by his love of nature, his incredible artwork that he creates, his love of rummy, which he teaches everyone, including me, despite me never being able to beat him, and his love of his absolute favorite food, Costco hot dogs. Yeah. James was a proud part of the police department for many years, always being praised for his work ethic, where he picked up long shifts, worked extra hours, and always told his coworkers that when he retires, he's going to take his wife Maxine to Alaska to paint the beautiful scenery with his even more beautiful wife. In 2022, however, these dreams were cut short when Max lost his wife Maxine of over 60 years to cancer. Now James has no desire to go to Alaska because what is the purpose of going to the place you love if you don't have the person you love most by your side? Stories like these are everywhere. You or or someone you know may have been disappointed because you simply pushed off your own happiness until it was too late. Now it sounds harsh, but nothing in this lifetime is promised. The salary increase, the promotion, the wealth, the fame, the status, none of it, including time, is promised. So why would we not take advantage of it today? Each and every one of you are working hard, and I do commend your hard work to get to this idea of success. But what is the purpose if you don't get to enjoy the fruits of your own labor? We are working hard because someday we may get that promotion, someday we may get a pay raise. However, someday we may be sitting with ourselves, recognizing that it's too late and feeling nothing but regret instead of happiness. Today and now is the time that you have to be happy, so why would you not take advantage of the time that you know you have, which is right now? In doing this speech, I started to feel a little bit of regret myself. At the ripe old age of 19, I felt that I had wasted my own time. Yeah. I had wasted precious moments on things that didn't matter. Time, people, jobs, nothing that had mattered. And I told myself that I wasn't going to stick with that lifestyle. I wasn't going to keep living that way. I wasn't going to let myself sit with myself and feel anything but regret. I wanted to feel happy. I wanted to feel successful in my lifetime. And so that's what I promised myself that I would do. And I'd like to share how I did it, and I'd urge you to do it with me. Now, in this very professional and official manuscript, titled Lauren's Guide to Being Happy. It's broken down into 3 easy steps that I have simplified into the letters D, S, and P. And I'd like to go through them with you, and I urge you to do them with me as I'm doing in my own life. First thing, D, I need each and every one of you to decide what it means for yourself to be happy. Whether it's the creation of art, creation of music, creation of literature, creation of food, whether it's reading a book, taking your dog on a walk, going outside, spending time with your friends, your family, your kids, stopping to smell the roses, literally anything that makes you happy. Reminder, you don't have to be good at it. It just has to make you feel joy. It has to make you feel as though your quality of life has improved simply by doing it. I think everyone in this room has an idea of what that might mean for yourself, so we're going to move on to step 2, which is spontaneity. Each and every one of you are going to need to be spontaneous. Remember, nothing in this lifetime is promised, especially not time. So why would we waste time that we have and we know that we have doing things that do not matter? Whether you spend 5 minutes or 5 hours doing something that you love, it is better than absolutely nothing, and you can tell yourself that you've had a happy day and you've done at least something that has made you happy. And now we're going to move on to step 3. And for this step, I need everyone's little pinkies in the air. Awesome, so for this step, it stood for promise. And by putting your little pinkies up in the air, you have just made a pinky promise to me that you are going to do something for yourself today. I need each and every one of you to go out and do something that makes you happy, because if you've spent 5 minutes or 5 hours doing something or anything that has made you happy, then by my definition, you have just had yourself a very successful day. So I want each and every one of you to go out into the world, go have a successful life, the new definition of success. I want each and every one of you to feel happy. I don't want you to feel regret at any point in your lifetime, especially not after my awesome speech. So go out there, go be happy, go be successful. After all, you all did just make a pinky promise to me, and I do take those very seriously. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Lauren. Our next speaker is Madeline Warren. Madeline is from San Jose, California, and calls Kaysville, Utah home. Her major is Spanish, and she's a sophomore. She attended Spectrum Academy in North Salt Lake. Her professional goals are to become an immigration attorney. Her instructor this semester was Natalie Hales, and she will be delivering a speech titled Crochet, A World of Possibilities.
I'd like you guys to all show up by a raise of hands. Who is familiar with either crocheting or knitting? Okay, a lot of you, nice. I would first have to point out that crocheting and knitting are not the same thing. I've been crocheting since I was 11 years old, and this hobby has shaped me into who I am today. Tonight, I would like to talk about 3 points as to why everybody should learn to crochet and how it is a world full of possibilities. Let's jump into this wonderful topic together. Crocheting is a wonderful hobby, and crocheting can allow you to form your own sense of creativity. According to the Research Horizons Journal, crocheting has been proven to be able to release stress. And as college students, finding numerous ways to be able to deal with our stress is imperative to our academic success. And honestly, when I think of the word crochet, the elderly come to my mind. But the same source concludes that many people today are turning over to this style of art. Now, here's a catch. Crocheting can allow you to form very special social bonds with people. In 2013, when I was in middle school, I had my own crochet business where I crocheted plushies from animes, video games, cartoons. And with the help of my younger brother, during this time, Minecraft was booming in popularity, first of all. And with the help of my younger brother, I started crocheting Minecraft characters. And I kid you not, when I brought this creeper into school, I had kids with $5 bills. My friend can even tell you in the audience. Kids are waving $5 bills in the air, begging me if they can buy one from me. And this is a core memory that I hold dear. Crocheting has allowed me to be able to gain marketing skills and newfound friendships through my creative skills. I really felt I had a sense of belonging during that time. Now, did you know crocheting can also allow you to help others in the community? According to silkpurskills.com, Queen Victoria learned to crochet to be able to help the Irish community during the potato famine of 1845 to 1852. Also, crocheting clothing, blankets, and even gun belts was very popular during World War II because yarn was cheap and easy to produce. I mean, it still is cheap and easy to produce, but the same goes for back then. Now, let's talk about how crocheting has gotten popular in the first place in the last couple of years. Let's quickly rewind back to that dreadful COVID pandemic. And during that time, we have all had to come up with numerous, countless ways to be able to deal with our boredom throughout all the isolation and all the social distancing. The Journal of Psychology of Aesthetics, Creativity in the Arts has mentioned that there have been countless studies done that people during times of extreme distress will turn to art therapy. The same source also mentions that prisoners will also do the exact same thing in order to subside these emotions. The pandemic has allowed for crocheting to be able to come into the light. Now, money-wise, crocheting is also not that expensive to get into. For a crochet hook and a ball of yarn, you're looking at less than $10. And especially for us college students, we are constantly pounding word about budgeting and saving our money. If you're looking for a hobby to get into, consider crocheting, because a $10 bill is not going to break the bank. Now, time-wise, crocheting is also a lot faster and easier to learn than its sister counterpart knitting. Sorry, my knitting friends. But crocheting, with the use of its one hook, you were able to create many shapes and forms. Whilst with knitting, in order to create the sleeve of a sweater or even just a ball, you were looking at needing to use at least 3 to 6 needles. Isn't that crazy? And I know this because I know how to do both. For example, crocheting a scarf would take me about a couple weeks, but knitting a scarf would take me about a month. And this is due to the knit stitches being a lot smaller in size and taking longer to produce. Now, let's move into how crocheting can impact the people around you. Along with my crochet business that I had, I also did charity work with my crocheting. And along with me making money, I also crocheted blankets and clothing for hospitals in low-income areas for babies, such as in California, West Virginia, and in Utah, such as in Bountiful and Ogden. I've come to find out then and now that there is a large percentage of parents who have babies who can't afford to clothe them after they leave the hospital. Isn't that just heartbreaking? I knew within myself that I was using my special talent to be able to help others that were less fortunate than I. And this brought me great peace. On top of that, I also crocheted burial gowns for babies who were stillborn or for babies who didn't make it too long after they were born. My oldest brother, Stephen, was a 3-pound stillborn baby, and he didn't survive, and I never got to meet him. Crocheting these outfits made me feel closer to my brother, and in a way, I felt that I was being able to honor my brother and being able to give other babies a beautiful outfit to be buried in. As well, I felt that I was being able to help other grieving parents, such as my own parents, that had to go through this terrible, traumatic experience. And this is something that no parent should ever have to go through. My late grandfather, when he found out about my special charity work, he would give me money to be able to buy more supplies to make these clothes. And as well, he even drove me personally to a hospital near his house in San Jose, California, so that I could personally give these outfits to the staff. When the staff found out that me as a 14-year-old was making these outfits, they were flabbergasted. Crocheting really is more than a crochet hook and a ball of yarn. It can really impact the ones around you. To sum up what I've talked about tonight, I've talked about why crocheting is a great hobby, how art such as crocheting has gotten popular during the pandemic, and how crocheting can impact the ones around you. My hope for you all tonight is that you can walk away knowing that crochet is more than a ball of yarn and a crochet hook. It can bring out your inner creativity, you can even make money off it, and it can impact the ones around you. And it really is a world full of possibilities. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Madeline. Our next speaker is Sean Whiting. He was born in Salt Lake City and calls Murray Holiday, Utah, home. His major is in communication with a digital media emphasis. He's a junior this year and attended West High School. His professional goals are to become a communication specialist for a public school district. His instructor this semester was Natalie Hales, and he'll be presenting a speech titled ABCs of Avoidance Coping Strategies.
By raise of hand, who here has ever procrastinated? Good to know I'm not alone. Good to know there's some people who are better than me. But today, I want to teach you your ABCs, avoidance coping strategies, so you can avoid the lessons I've learned. But first, what are the ABCs? A stands for avoidance is good. B stands for behaviors or symptoms. And C stands for change requires consequence. And I can see some looks of confusion. What exactly is avoidance coping strategies? And that is defined as avoidance coping strategies are the manifestation of avoidant behavior towards a perceived stress that would negatively impact the social and emotional well-being of an individual. And that's cited from Charles J. Holohan, an expert in avoidance coping strategies. He's also done work demonstrating avoidance coping strategies are the only way of identifying major depression within a 10-year span. So that procrastination we all talked about, it does matter. But for that, A, avoidance is good. Avoidant behavior is the physiological response to fear or disgust. And that's from Valerie Curtis, an expert in the physiological side of avoidance. Avoidance is just the evolutionary trait towards a fear or disgust emotion. That's all it is. So for example, that's a moldy sandwich. And I'm disgusted by the idea of myself or anyone here taking a bite of that moldy sandwich. And that inherently is good. Because if anyone ate that sandwich, not only is it disgusting, but it's the physiological aspect of eating something that might harm you. And that's why avoidance is good. And this reminds me of a quote of John Lydgate, the monk whose works inspired Shakespeare, "For whoso hath too much of any good, of that same good he shall soon bereft." Which translates to modern English, trust me, it's just like Shakespeare. Too much of any good thing is bad for you. And that's what avoidant coping strategies are. Avoidance itself isn't a problem. If anything, it's beneficial. There's a reason evolution has made that a trait with most humans and not everything. Avoidance coping strategies is the manifestation of that into everyday life that is negatively impacting your social and emotional well-being. And for that, behaviors are symptoms. And for me, I wasn't eating moldy sandwiches. I was playing World of Warcraft. And for those who don't know what World of Warcraft is, it's a fantasy video game that was very popular in the early 2000s. And I and my brother got a free trial. When I was 7 years old, he was 10. It's so addictive that its own community lovingly referred to it as World of Warcraft. And that free month trial, we fit that definition. We played every first moment, but at the end of the month, my brother stopped. I needed more from the game than my brother. I needed more than most people would. I was avoiding something. I was fearful of my father. He was emotionally abusive, a narcissist, and an avid avoider himself. And he had custody of us on the weekends. And so what was just a fun thing for a month turned into, that was what I played to avoid my time at my dad's. And that only got worse. When I turned 12 years old, my parents sat me down and my brother at the same desk that we played World of Warcraft at for that first time. On that desk were 3 paper envelopes. These were all filled with to the brim with his cancer diagnosis and what to do next for his treatment. He had been diagnosed with synovial sarcoma, soft tissue cancer that was now stage 4. These envelopes might as well have said, your dad's dead. He was still in front of me at the time, but it might as well have said that. He was given 5 years to live. And in that moment, I've never felt more fear and disgust, both towards my father and myself. I felt fearful because I was fearful what those 5 years would look like for him. What would cancer look like? I was fearful for what my 5 years after that would look like. I was disgusted because he had let synovial sarcoma, which for those who don't know, has an 85 to 95% survival rate when caught early. He had let a tumor grow to the size of a softball over a course of 5 years. It now had a 40 or less % survival rate and was much more intense in its treatment. And in that moment, I felt more disgust to myself because I had given more empathy to the man who was harming me and my brother. I was worried what was going to happen to him as well as myself. And for that, of course my avoidance got worse, and I needed a consequence. So C, change requires consequence. I turned 17 and I was diagnosed with major depression, just like Charles J. Holohan had predicted. And it was because of avoidance coping strategies. And in that moment, I hit the point where I was no longer able to make myself leave my room, let alone attend school or hang out with friends. I was busy not even playing World of Warcraft even. I was now avoiding that too. I knew I needed help because of how much trouble I was in, because I began to have thoughts of suicide. I could just avoid life as such. But I was lucky. I had my mother, my brother, and my best friend, who were a great support system, and things did get better, and I sought help. And over those 3 months, my homework grew to what the mountains seemed to be, but I felt smaller than pixels I had used to meditate. And for that, I realized I needed to know the ABCs of avoidance coping strategies. So to recap, avoidance is good. Behaviors are symptoms, and change requires consequence. And if you don't learn these from me tonight, learn from my father's story. He let something develop that took over his life, resulting in his death alone in a mobile home somewhere in southern Utah. And so, remember your ABCs of avoidance coping strategies. They might just save your life. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Sean. Our final presenter tonight will be Allie Woodbury. She was born in Clearfield, Utah, and calls Riverdale, Utah home. Her major is elementary education. She's a junior. She attended Bonneville High School and has a professional goal to become a kindergarten teacher. Her instructor this semester was Yolanda Lewis. She'll be delivering a speech titled Fear, Restructuring the Narrative of Being Afraid.
fear? Is your heart racing? Maybe you jumped. Maybe you tensed up a little bit. So why does your body do that? The truth is, fear existed long before I invoked that reaction. It has existed for generations without number. Long before we are anxious about job interviews, dating, or public speaking, we were conditioned to fear for our very lives in a world full of danger. Now, understanding your fears and what causes them gives you the power to turn them to your advantage. Some fears are ingrained in us since birth, while others are learned behaviors. First, I'll start by discussing these innate fears and how they work. Next, we'll discuss how these learned behaviors affect our lives and others. And finally, I will present fear in a way that gives you power to turn it to your advantage. Now, where does it start? Innate fears, according to Cleveland Clinic, play a big part. A big part of it is the amygdala, a small portion of your brain known for processing emotion, and specifically noted for the role it plays in processing fear. Now, everything that you take in, from the sound, sight, touch, smell, taste, is coded and sent to your brain. Now, these codes are sent straight through the amygdala, and it makes decisions so rapidly before you can even process whether what's in front of you is dangerous or not. We have two fears that are ingrained in us since birth. One, the fear of falling. The second, the fear of loud noises. Now, these aren't the only fears. We also have learned fears that we develop over time. When I was first born, my mother was told that her role as a parent, she played a key role in teaching me and my younger siblings what to fear. Now, she decided right then and there that she did not want to project her irrational fears onto us. Fears of bugs, spiders, or driving on the freeway. And I'm so grateful for that, because fears can be inhibiting, but they don't have to be. According to Trevor Reagan, who is the founder of a program that explores learning and emotional development, says, we can dance with fear. Isn't that interesting? Think back to a few moments ago when I threw down those chairs. Your body had an immediate physical reaction, whether that was your heart starts pounding, you tense up, perhaps you're prepared to run, or some of you maybe even fight. Now, your body was priming yourself for an immediate and drastic reaction. What if you were able to turn that to your advantage? What risks might you be willing to take? What rewards might you be able to reap? It then becomes the literal embodiment of the phrase, nothing ventured, nothing gained. Fear once acted as a warning, saying, stop, wait, you can't, or you shouldn't try. But now, as you approach fear with an open mind, it can become preparatory in nature. It can mean concentrate. Focus your energy. You can do this if you stay aware. The way that you approach fear turns it from an inhibiting emotion to an inspiring one. You change the nature of your own fear as you become the master of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Allie. We'd like to have one more big round of applause for all of our presenters tonight. Thank you so much for sharing your inspiring words and showing what we learned in public speaking. We'd like to move to the next part of our program where we present the honorariums to our finalists. So we would invite President Mortensen and Dr. Villalobos to come up to the stage. And when I call your name, if you could come up to receive your certificate, and you get to shake hands with Dr. Villalobos and President Mortensen, which is just a treat by itself. Oh, you know what? It's better than I imagined. All right, Tyler Edwards. Sure. Lauren Gorsland. Madeline Warren. Sean Whiting. And Allie Woodbury. All right, now I would like to turn the time over to Dr. Cherie Josephson to present our Freedom Through Rhetoric Award.
Pulitzer Prize winner. I have to tell you that I never expected those 3 words to describe a Weber State University journalism graduate. But they have described Jessica Miller since she was 29. Jessica was part of a team at the Salt Lake Tribune that won a 2017 Pulitzer Prize for local reporting. She and several of her colleagues spent months investigating mishandled sexual assault reports at Utah universities. I've known Jessica for more than 15 years, maybe more. I was trying to decide. We're getting old, Jessica. Encountering her first in a lower division journalism class, it didn't take long before Jessica was reporting for the Signpost, becoming the editor-in-chief during her senior year. But Jessica's education and my association with her didn't stop there. She even earned a graduate degree in our Master of Professional Communication program. I even had the honor of advising her thesis, and we co-published an eye-tracking study titled Just State the Facts on Twitter in Visual Communication Quarterly. Now, I will never win a Pulitzer Prize, but at least I can say I co-published something with somebody who did. But Jessica hasn't rested on her laurels since she won that piece of the Pulitzer. She is a 2-time Livingston Award finalist, recognized for her data-driven reporting on Utah police shootings and her investigation of Utah's lucrative troubled teen industry. While working at the Tribune, she has collaborated with several national nonprofit newsrooms for investigative work, including a film with Frontline, an investigative podcast with American Public Media, and a fellowship with ProPublica's local reporting network. For this work, she was honored by the Utah Society of Professional Journalists with the Public Service Award. Jessica does important journalism, and journalism is important. Independent journalism provides citizens with the information they need to make informed decisions about things that impact their lives. A free press holds political leaders accountable and serves as a check on the people and institutions in power. One news organization put it this way: independent journalism is the exact tonic the world needs most at a moment in which polarization and misinformation are shaking the foundations of democracies and undermining society's ability to meet the existential challenges of the era, from inequality to political dysfunction to the accelerating toll of climate change. Jessica speaks with a journalistic voice, and it's my honor to introduce this semester's recipient of the Freedom Through Rhetoric Award, Jessica Miller.
Well, it really is truly an honor to be here. My specialty is the written word, so I'm sorry that I'm public speaking this evening, but please bear with me as I look to my notes often. As Sheree has mentioned, I graduated from Weber State in 2009. I came back again and earned my Master's of Professional Communication degree in 2013. I was the editor-in-chief of the Signpost during my time here, and I really learned so much from that experience that I took with me into my professional career. I started my journalism career at the Standard Examiner. I was a cops reporter, classic beginnings of many journalism careers. But I spent the majority of my career at the Stellar Tribune. And as Sheree's mentioned, in those 13 years that I've been there, we've reported on mishandled reports of sexual assault at Utah campuses. I worked with Frontline on a film about police shootings. I did a podcast about the troubled teen industry. And I mention all this to say that I've had to really develop my communication skills to tailor to the needs of these big projects, all of which that have led to policy changes or new laws that are hopefully keeping Utah safer. These are communication skills that I first developed here at Weber State and that I've continued to hone in my years as a professional journalist. In those years, I've developed into a reporter who can talk to lawyers and legislators. I can effectively communicate to my bosses, whether those are in my own newsrooms or in national nonprofit newsrooms. Just today, I was public speaking at a state records committee, arguing that the Attorney General's office denied records that were public. And I won. Yay! Woo! And yes, I have even interviewed celebrities like Paris Hilton. Being an effective communicator is so helpful in accomplishing these big parts of my job, trying to hold those in power accountable, fighting for public records, and understanding complicated issues around underreported topics. But where my communication skills have been most valuable are with the people that I interview for my stories who are talking to me sometimes about these worst moments of their lives. No matter how nerve-wracking or intimidating it can be to confront a lawmaker or talk to a public official, it really pales in comparison to the responsibility I feel when I'm asking someone to share with me, who's a complete stranger to them, their traumatic experiences, and to ask them to trust me, to accurately and compassionately relay those stories and their life experiences to all of you, to the public. And I probably wasn't always good at it. I am sure I have fumbled through a lot of coffee meetings, I've probably called people at weird times to ask them to talk with me, but I think I've learned through these experiences every time I've had them. And to give an example, I want to tell you about someone I met about a year ago. I'll call him Andrew, but that's not his real name. I met him at a conference room that he had reserved for us at the local university. Andrew had agreed to tell me about how his church leader had sent him to a therapist for same-sex attraction, and how he says the mental health worker had touched him inappropriately during those sessions. We also talked about his efforts to report that therapist to state licensors, and how that process, which ended in very little official action, had really sent his mental health spiraling. And I could sense he was really nervous talking to me, which is really understandable. His vulnerability had already been exploited by a healthcare worker that he really trusted, and his efforts to hold that therapist accountable had left him feeling more hurt. And now he's putting his trust in me, someone he doesn't know, hoping for something to change or for a measure of accountability. And so as we talked, I emphasized to him that he was in control of the conversation. We could stop, we could take breaks, it was up to him. I listened carefully. I walked through the reporting process with him, and he shared reasons with me why he needed to protect his identity if we went forward with the story. We had a lot of conversations in the months that followed, and I continued to speak with other men who've had strikingly similar accounts with this same therapist. We did publish Andrew's story and the stories of the other patients about 6 months after I first met him. That article led to a police investigation, and eventually the therapist was arrested and charged with nearly a dozen felonies. His criminal case isn't over, but he's still in jail now. And none of that would have happened if Andrew and those other former patients hadn't come forward, and if I hadn't created a space where they knew they could trust us to tell their stories. And I know most of you in this room probably you don't want to be journalists, which is great, fine. But many of you do want to be professional communicators, whatever form that takes for you. And so I guess I'll try to offer one piece of advice for you. Learning to listen is so critically important. We learn in college how to write effective articles, how to run a marketing campaign, how to debate, or how to ask hard questions. But a truly valuable skill is to know when to stop talking. But I'm going to say some more stuff. The communication skills that you've learned while studying here will help you in your professional lives, and I hope you will continue to grow in those skills like I've done with my career. You've been set up to effectively work with some of the most important people in our state, whether you decide to become a reporter like I did, or a communications manager, or something different. But I think where those communication skills will be most important is if you can apply them in how you care for your community, or how you show compassion to those you may encounter who maybe don't have power, or have a different kind of perspective to share. To me, being a good communicator has meant having the ability to listen to someone's story compassionately and attentively. And I've been fortunate to learn that when we've done that, we can make changes in our communities. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jessica, for your inspiring words. We'll now have President Mortensen give you the Freedom Through Rhetoric Award, and then we'll have President Mortensen give us his remarks.
Good evening, everyone. It's always really humbling to be at this part of the program and then have me speak after all of these great speeches and in front of all these great speech professors. And anyway, I just want to say a couple of things, and I really appreciate Jessica being here and representing the great things Weber State alumni can do and the power that we all have to go out and make a difference in the world, and just really want to extend my congratulations to her. I want to thank the 5 speakers tonight for their great stories and talent and messages that you shared, and I'm sure all of the other class finalists and probably many others throughout your classes also were tremendous speakers, and really appreciate you sharing your public speaking abilities with us. Congratulations to our tremendous faculty, Weber State. Let's give them a big hand. Taking the extra effort to put on a program like this to be able to highlight our students, to show the power of public speaking and rhetoric in our community and our world. It's kind of the above and beyond stuff that Weber State faculty and staff do every day, and we don't thank you all enough, so thank you for that. Thank you to all the audience members who came and listened and demonstrated why it's so important to be part of this exchange of ideas, and to be able to be willing to listen to other folks and hear what they're saying, and like Jessica was saying, and to just really, listening and learning is so important, and it gets overlooked in our society today when we're so sure we're right, and we're so sure we can convince others of our rightness, instead of listening to each other and learning how to come together and celebrate what we do agree on, and the greatness that we have in our different perspectives. So thank you all for coming and participating in this great program. I just really feel like it emulates what we value the most at Weber State, and that's being a part of a community that's learning together and having access to tremendous opportunities. And I'm always pleased and humbled to be a part of it. I wish you all well with the rest of the semester and all of your efforts. And again, thank you to all those who made this program possible tonight.
Thank you, President Mortensen. I'm going to have a few minutes just to share some of my own thoughts, Lucky, and then we'll conclude tonight with the Weber Speaks Anthem, and I'll give you a little primer on that after I'm done, so it'll be fun. So recently, I've gotten really into listening to podcasts and reading books about historical figures, and I'm just kind of a history nerd. I think that it's really interesting to learn about these people's lives. And I've found that most of the time when I'm learning about these people, I very easily put them into 2 boxes. It's like the goodies and the baddies. And you think of somebody like Joseph Stalin, and you're like, oh, baddie. And Mother Teresa, goodie. Nelson Mandela, goodie. Colonel Sanders, really, really baddie. You don't even want to know. The problem is that all of these people, regardless if they're a goodie or a baddie, they're actually very nuanced people. And it's hard when we're presented with information that contradicts our expectations. So, I don't know if you knew this, I didn't know this, that in his younger years as a lawyer, Abraham Lincoln was challenged to a duel with cavalry broadswords because he was such a jerk to a local politician. Did you know this? Honest Abe? Blew my mind. Like, Genghis Khan was actually a really good father. Just kidding. He really wasn't. He had like 3,000 kids. I don't really see him as like the attentive, nurturely type. But either way, as we're learning about these people, we learn about the really great things that they did, or the really terrible things that they did, and we kind of come to the same conclusion. We think to ourselves, well, I could never do that. And in his later life, Abraham Lincoln, during the Civil War, when his wife would criticize the people in the southern states, Abraham Lincoln would say, well, don't judge them too harshly. We would likely do the same thing if we were in their circumstances. And that shows an incredible amount of growth. From a young man who was smarter than most people that he knew, and he used it to injure people, to make them feel stupid or feel small, because he could. But later in his life, he learned that there was a better way. It was more important to understand the other people than it was to be right or to show them that you were better. So very often we look at people like Abraham Lincoln in his later years and we just see the good things that they do. Or we look around at these amazing people around us like Michael Phelps or Usain Bolt or these other fantastic athletes, and we only see them at their pinnacle. We don't see the hours of practice in a swimming pool all by yourself, waking up early, going to sleep late. We don't see those things. And so when we look at those people and we see them as, well, they're so amazing, we use terms like, well, they're a genius, or they're a freak. And what it does for us is it lets us off the hook, right? If they're just a genius, or if they're just a freak, then lucky for us, we don't have to do what it takes to become that way. And that does us a huge disservice. It also does them a huge disservice. They don't get credit for the time that they put into it. And we don't even recognize what it takes. So there's a common phrase that we use, that we stand on the shoulders of giants. And how can we do that if we don't even recognize what they're doing? We need to see people as people. Even in some of our most important words that have been written down or spoken in our country, they were created by very flawed people. Even something like, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. Those immortal words are in the Declaration of Independence, and they were written by an incredibly flawed person. So if you think to yourself, well, I could never be as good as Albert Einstein, I could never be as fast as Michael Phelps, maybe, but they're flawed people just like you. And you don't have to be a world-class swimmer. You don't have to be a physicist. You can be great in something else. But if you don't look at yourself as great, even as a flawed person, then very often we don't even try. So this speech showcase, I think, exemplifies what greatness is. None of us are perfect. No speech is perfect. No presentation. We're all flawed people. But that doesn't mean that we can't do great things. And every day, we can do something a little bit better. If we compare ourselves to the patience of Abraham Lincoln as the President of the United States, when he was where he was going to be, then of course it seems out of reach. But if we see Abraham Lincoln as a jerk lawyer, hey, I can do that. But the difference between the goodies and the baddies is not that you're good all the time or that you're bad all the time. The good people are the ones that make mistakes, but then learn from it, and they're better tomorrow than they were today. And more than most other classes that you'll take, public speaking is giving you an opportunity to hone a skill, to become more powerful. The people who make impact in this world aren't always the people who win wars or become presidents. They're people who do good things, great things in the sphere of influence where they are. And that all comes from our ability to engage with other people. The way that we use our words, the way we stand up for the things that are right, and we oppose things that are wrong, that gives us power. And the more we learn how to articulate the things that we want and how to share our values and beliefs in a persuasive and important way, the better off we're going to be. I find this class to be one of the funnest classes that I get to teach because I see so much growth in students. I see terrified kids come in the first day, and by the end, they're delivering these kinds of speeches in front of a room full of people that are all watching them. That's growth. That's greatness. And I'm just very honored and humbled to be part of it. So thank you so much. I was about to walk away. There's one more thing. We're going to do the Weber Speaks anthem. So the way that this works, this is a call and response. So we're going to have Jessica Miller come up here, and she's going to read the black words on the back of your program, or up here, and we're all going to shout the purple stuff. Okay? So it has to be loud. If it's not loud enough, then Jessica will tell you that it's not loud enough, and we'll have to do it all over again. So do it right the first time. Got it? All right. I'll turn it over to Jessica then.
All right, let's only do this once, okay? Are you ready? Yes. Okay. When an answer to a problem is needed,
Weber speaks!
Whenever conflict or justice demand resolution,
Weber speaks!
Should fear threaten to silence the voice of freedom,
Weber speaks!
That was great, thank you.